You may have noticed in the last few videos about social influence, when it comes to obedience and conformity, the majority of people do give in to social pressure and alter their behaviour. But there are a few individuals who resist, like the 25% of people in Ash's study who refused to give a single incorrect response and disagreed with a large group on every single critical trial, and the 35% of people who refused to continue to the highest shock level in Milgram's experiment, even when they were put under intense pressure to obey. What makes people like them able to resist? Is it something special about their personality? Or if the social pressures were stronger, would they eventually just give in and go along with the group's demands or obey the authority figure like everybody else? The Psych Boost app now has 3 features: flashcards, multiple choice quizzes, and see if you can work out the key term from its definition with the key term tester. Try Paper 1 for free right now. And Patreon supporters can watch Psych Boost videos ad-free, learn from over 17 hours of exclusive exam tutorial videos, and access hundreds of digital and printable resources, including mind maps, quiz sheets, worksheets, teaching slides, and more. Explanations of resistance. When we talk about resistance to social influence, we mean being able to hold out against the pressure to either conform or obey. The individual must confront the group or authority figure and remain consistent with their own desired behaviour and opinions. We've already seen examples of resistance to social influence in the key studies in this unit. When writing about Ash, the focus is usually on the mean conformity rate, 32%. But this figure hides some important individual differences. 75% of participants conformed at least once, meaning 25% of participants were able to last through all 12 critical trials without once giving in and agreeing to the group in a single trial. This must have been difficult. These participants likely experienced significant social pressure, worrying about what the other participants felt about them. But despite this, they remained independent. In Milgram, it's true the majority of participants, 65%, continued until the end. However, this means that 35% of participants were eventually able to stand up to the authority of the Yale University experimenter and refused 4 times to continue to shock, ending the experiment. These resistors are interesting to psychologists. Do these people have a certain personality that makes them more resistant? Or, if the situation was different, would they also give in to the power of the group and the authority figure? In this video, we'll discuss 2 explanations of resistance to social influence: a situational explanation, social support, and a dispositional explanation, a personality characteristic called locus of control. Explanations of resistance to social influence. Social support. One factor that's thought to make resistance to social influence easier is social support. This is exactly what it sounds like. An individual provides social support by going against, resisting the group or the authority figure before we do. This example of defiance makes it easier for us to go against the group or the authority figure. We can be a little bit more precise and suggest how this works for both conformity and obedience. When it comes to conformity, the person providing social support is a dissenter. They act as a non-conformist ally. Their non-conformity breaks the unanimity of the group and also provides an alternate group to belong to. Someone providing social support by refusing the demands of an authority figure helps us resist by challenging the legitimacy of the authority of the person giving the orders. They also show the consequences of resistance and provide a role model for our own behaviour. Social support evaluations. Our evaluations are not going to be too challenging, as they're going to be based on the Milgram and Ash studies. In one variation of Milgram, 2 other Confederate teachers acted as social support. The actual participant and the teacher Confederates shared the role of giving the shocks. During the experiment, the Confederate teachers refused to continue. This social support resulted in a drop in obedience rate from 65% to just 10%. Milgram argued this was due to the defiance of the Confederates, reducing the legitimacy of the scientist's authority. When it comes to social support and conformity, Ash's unanimity variation can be used as an evaluation. In this variation, one dissenting Confederate broke the unanimity of the group by providing the correct response. This presence of an ally caused a drop in conformity rate from 32% down to 5.5%. In a study with a similar setup by Alan Levine, the participants even used the social support of a dissenter with thick glasses who claimed to have very poor eyesight, suggesting any amount of social support can help individuals resist the pressure to conform. As with many topics in your psychology course, we can use a competing theory as an evaluation. In this case, we can suggest that even with significant social support, there are individuals who will obey and conform. 10% in the Milgram variation and 5.5% in the Ash variation. Social support is situational. It may be that some people's dispositions, their personality, makes them particularly susceptible to social influence, even in the presence of social support. One dispositional factor is the topic of the next section, locus of control. And we could say someone with an external locus of control is more susceptible to social influence, as well as someone with an authoritarian personality, covered in the previous social influence video. Explanations of resistance to social influence. Locus of control. The locus of control scale was created by Rotter. It's measured from high internal to high external, and most people will be around the middle. Exactly where an individual falls in this continuum depends on what they interpret as the cause of their experiences, which will go on to influence their behaviour. So, if someone has an internal locus of control, then they believe they have personal control over their lives. It's internal because the locus, place of control, is inside themselves. So, if they succeed or fail, they see themselves as responsible for that outcome. Because of this, these people are more likely to take personal responsibility for their actions. As you may expect, these people are going to be more able to resist social pressure. Having an external locus of control refers to individuals who see the place that controls their lives as outside of themselves. This external control could be fate, luck, or powerful external forces like the government. Because they see the events in their lives as being due to these external factors, they're less likely to feel responsibility for their actions, and feel less able and motivated to make real changes in their lives. For these reasons, people with an external locus of control are less likely to resist social pressure. Let's clarify these points for both conformity and obedience. When it comes to conformity, people with an internal locus of control are more likely to resist group pressure. They believe in their own ability to make correct decisions, and they feel they have a responsibility to stand by what they believe. For obedience, again, it's those with an internal locus of control that are most likely to resist. They feel better equipped to stand against the authority figure as they are more independent and self-confident. That sense of personal responsibility also gives them a drive to refuse orders that don't match their own values. Locus of control, evaluations. First, some research on locus of control and obedience. Holland completed a replication of Milgram's study, but in this study, participants were also assessed for their locus of control. It was found that 37% of those with an internal locus of control refused to continue to the highest shock level, compared to 23% of those with an external locus of control. So we could just say that this supports the idea that an internal locus of control helps you resist the pressure to obey. Still, we could add to this, as the difference isn't huge, and the majority, 63% of people with an internal locus of control, still gave the highest shock level. This would suggest that locus of control is only a partial, possibly a minor explanation of resistance to social influence. For research on conformity, Spector asked 157 undergraduate participants to complete 2 questionnaires, one measuring their locus of control and one measuring their tendency to conform to normative and informational social influence. These are the 2 explanations for conformity we discussed in the first social influence video. Now, Spector's research did show a significant correlation between having an external locus of control and being able to resist normative social influence. And you could just leave it like that as a positive evaluation. But if you want to be fancy, we could also talk about the fact there was no correlation found between conforming to informational social influence and locus of control, suggesting internals don't feel the need to conform to be liked, but both externals and internals look to others for correct information and will conform if they feel the group is correct. So locus of control does influence conformity, but again, it's not a complete explanation. A last point for a criticism will be to point out that the relationship between locus of control and resistance to social influence is correlational. There are other factors that could be related to having an external or internal locus of control that have also been suggested as being involved in resistance to social influence. These include someone's level of social anxiety, their sense of personal morality, because individuals who see an action as morally wrong are likely to resist, even if there's social pressure, and social status, as people with higher social status may feel more empowered to resist social pressure. I want to thank everyone over on Patreon for supporting the channel. Because of you, I've been able to teach part-time, meaning I can make Psych Boost on YouTube for everyone. And a special thank you to Azzy Taylor for supporting at the developer level. I do have extra resources that are exclusive to my patrons, so if you do decide to sign up, you can grab those over my website. These include over 100 exam question tutorial videos, of course including questions on the social influence unit. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next Psych Boost video.